right, Bob, Mariners, 8-game win streak snapped at the hands of the Orioles, lost 2 heartbreakers. What'd you think of the series this weekend?
I was bummed. I was frustrated. I mean, you and I sat there together during the George Kirby masterpiece. 9 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts. And you can't push across a single run. They were 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position in that game. They stranded 9 that night on base. In the 2 games they lost, both extra inning games, they went 1 for 15. 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, and I believe they stranded a total of 14. So it's hard to get too upset with them. They won 8 in a row. They won 6 series in a row. They were the best team in baseball since July 1st. And so it's hard to, I don't want to overreact, but man, when you get a gem like that from Kirby, you got to find a way, man. It was just such a bad night at the plate. I thought there were a lot of bad approaches there. I mean, it was a tough night for Julio, 0 for 5 in the leadoff spot. First at-bat, 3 pitches, and he was down. You missed JP. I thought that became very evident in that series as well. A couple of booted balls at shortstop, one of them that cost him on Sunday by Dylan Moore. So, yeah, frustrating. You know, it sucks that they were going to lose at some point. They weren't going to sweep the rest of the season, but it was a frustrating series against a team that you looked at as a measuring stick. Like, all right, how good is this Mariner team really? Best team in the American League, record-wise anyway. How do they stack up? And they fought them tooth and nail, and it was a competitive series, but just one that you look at with some missed opportunities sitting right there.
Well, let's talk about their play of late, just in general, especially since the deadline. Obviously, a lot of frustration that they didn't do more at the deadline. They really just made the one big trade, the Paul Sewald trade, but these were only their second and third losses since the deadline. Are you kind of surprised that they picked it up after the deadline like they have?
Yeah, because it wasn't the guys that they traded for that have been the catalyst. I mean, Canzone in the game yesterday on Sunday with a huge home run. That was huge, but prior to that, the 2 guys combined, really not giving you much of anything at all. It was about everybody else. I went and looked at the numbers just since the beginning of August even, during the stretch. And everybody in that lineup's hitting 300, 320 with a 380 on base. And down from Gino to JP to Julio to Cal. I mean, everybody it just seemed like the lineup stepped up. Ty France, for whatever reason, it just seemed like all the guys we were sort of complaining about or had been really uneven throughout the season, all of them started playing to the back of their baseball card to an extent, and some exceeding it. So it was really interesting just to see almost the entire lineup kind of come to life during that stretch. And it wasn't, hey, we made this trade and these guys came in and they were this huge catalyst. No, it wasn't them. It wasn't Rojas and Canzone. It was all the guys that have been there the whole time.
All right, you kind of hit on him twice, but JP Crawford, obviously concussion, he's on the IL. You mentioned just kind of his absence. I mean, seems like this weekend kind of underscored really just his value to the team that maybe not a lot of people are appreciating with just how good of a season he's having this year.
1,000%. And we've talked about this before. He is, to me, hands down your team MVP this season. To me, it's not even close. And you saw what the team is like without him. You know, he's subtle. He's not a flashy player. He's not a guy who hits for a ton of power. He's got a career high in home runs at 10 right now. So, but you realize the quality of plate appearances he gives you. He will often make that pitcher work. He's going to give you a quality at bat. He's played outstanding defense. You saw that again. This is not to pick on Dylan Moore, but back-to-back games where he's in there at shortstop, he has an error in each game. First game didn't cost him. Second game it cost him. That run came around to score. You end up going to extra innings. That Canzone home run wins you the game had he not committed that error. It's not all on him, but you felt his absence. You felt it. We were talking about Julio, 0 for 5 on Saturday night. First at-bat, 3 pitches, he's down. I'm like, that's not JP. That doesn't happen with him. So you just see his leadership, B, the quality plate appearances he gives you, and his defense. There were plays that were out there he would have made. I'm just convinced he would have made, whether you want to talk about the errors or even some other plays that Dylan Moore couldn't quite make. JP makes those plays.
All right, one injury to another. Marco Gonzales told reporters yesterday that he's done for the season. He's getting a forearm surgery. I mean, it seems like his future's kind of a little cloudy, not just because he's coming off the injury, but they have a surplus of young arms, Bob. So really, what do you think happens going forward with Marco?
That's a great question, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, he's under contract for another year at $12.25 million. and then there's, I think, a club option for $15 million, which you assume is not going to get picked up. But how does he fit? You can ask the same question about Robbie Ray. If Logan Gilbert and George Kirby and Miller and Wu and then Hancock, I don't know, is he going to be part of the rotation? Does he start next year in AAA? I mean, you potentially have your 5 there, and you're looking at, well, Marco doesn't really fit. How does Robbie Ray fit? I mean, you still owe Robbie Ray a lot of money. You're going to find a way to fit him in there. He's a former Cy Young Award winner, but I don't see how Marco fits. I don't know what it is they do with him. I don't know if they try to move him in the offseason. What kind of value does he have? You know, and I hate to talk about him like he's just get what you can for him, because the guy's been, you know, no pun intended, an absolute bulldog for this team. I mean, he was your opening day starter for a number of seasons. He was your top of the rotation guy, an absolute leader who's respected in that clubhouse, and the ultimate teammate in terms of last year. He's talking to management saying, you want me to come out of the bullpen? I'll come out of the bullpen. Whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do. And I love that about a guy who's got that kind of experience and track record with the team as a leader and opening day starter, saying, yeah, I'll be a bullpen. Whatever you want me to do, whatever's going to help this team win, I'll do it. So I know fans love to get on him about, you know, he gets lit up in an inning. You see a lot of the pitchers in this rotation get lit up. He's your 5th starter. That's a pretty nice 5 right there when he's there. But ultimately, I just don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't know what his role is. I don't know what they do with him with another year on his contract. And if the youth continues the way that it has, he doesn't fit.
All right, Bob, last one. You and I were there Saturday. Felix Hernandez goes into the Mariners Hall of Fame as the 11th member, the 11th inductee. Special ceremony, a lot of very emotional Felix, obviously. I know you guys talked to him beforehand, but when you think about Felix Hernandez and his career and his legacy and now going into the Mariners Hall of Fame, just what do you think about him?
Oh, man, he was just such a huge part of this franchise, in that even in dark days or dark times where you looked at the team and went, they're not going anywhere, Felix is pitching today. It's Happy Felix Day. You know, he was your bright spot in a lot of dark times, if you will. And he was just, to have somebody who was considered one of the elite arms in all of baseball saying, no, I'm staying in Seattle. I'm going to stay here. I believe in what they're doing. I believe in their process. Unfortunately, he never got to a playoff, which is a huge bummer. And Saturday was a tremendous reminder of what it was like when he was there, where Kirby goes 9 innings, gives you just a gem on a platter here, and your offense gives you nothing. That was his story here in Seattle. So I just think Seattle, he is absolutely beloved in this city for obvious reasons. You saw it out there. And by the way, Mariners crushed that. They absolutely crushed that celebration, bringing Adrian Beltre in, all the video messages. I mean, it was just top notch. It was such a cool ceremony, and to see his emotion, and he deserves that spot in the Mariners Hall of Fame. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? One of the greatest to ever wear a Mariners uniform, and unfortunately we never got to see him in a postseason, but an absolute hero in this city.